Alrighty. So, hopefully everyone's ready. I don't even know if anyone's ready. Anyway, I am here. So, I'm coming on Thursday. I am busy getting ready for a campaign that hopefully will start Thursday nights here. It will start. It's coming up pretty soon. I'm saying hopefully it starts sooner. And I want to get it moving. We're just confirming with the last few players, so that should be coming up. And I've been deep in the prep for such things as well. They do prep a lot for new campaigns, even before the session zero, and mostly for the session zero itself, actually, is where I mostly do my prep. But my name is GM Balo. If you are just on this for the first time for some odd reason, I'm a professional dungeon master, or game master, you could say. Many roles, as they like to put that name in various categories. I think my favorite is Monster of the Week, where they call it the Keeper. I really love the role, which incidentally is one of my favorite ways to tell if I'm going to like a new TTRPG is what they call that role. Because there's a lot of games I kind of decide which I'm going to read, what I'm going to try to run and get people to play with me. And when I kind of have to give the first look through, the name that they give me, the person running the game, is really the most important to me. That's usually my up and down if I'm going to go to a second page. Like, we want to go instead of this world and that world, and there's these mechanics, and I very much am just like, what do you call the person who runs the game? And then I really from there want to know if I really care to listen. And the reason is because it really tells me about your game. It really tells me about the game. I know I'm kind of going on about that a little bit here, but really tells me some stuff. So I'm also going to give a few things that's going on for anyone who cares or is interested, here to ask questions on it, and hopefully make a few content pieces eventually as well, in some fashion or form here. So at any rate, people can hop up in the chat if they just feel like hanging out or the like as well. And there's a little bit of content I wanted to invest in the Discord server as well, to get any of that on in here. But hopefully, just putting some stuff out, getting some general things going. So I'm excited that D&D 2024 is up. I've been super excited about that, actually. So, of course, it's up. It has been up. It is continually there. And most of my games have started to run it. I think there's a few who have not yet kind of crossed over the threshold, so to speak, there. But what's nice is it's actually very compatible. Even if people like people could really run a 2014 character. Even like they suggest you run the base class with it, but like even people playing them side by side, it doesn't make anybody horribly underpowered or overpowered. It gets a little bit like we have to kind of suss a thing out on how it's going to work. But I realized you could really play the same, and it mostly works. Because I know there's a lot of like talk on different things about how can I like do it right. Well, you know, it's funny. I'm just like, however anybody feels like playing. You realize that someone could really run their 2024, someone could run their 2014 next to each other and really be fine, as long as they both really like the options that they're getting and the fun that they're having for the most part. It works out super well. And the only way you'd get kind of the only problems I could potentially see with it is people just being upset over, well, they get this and I got that. I should have this, or they should, those types of things, those type of looking at a person's plate, when you shouldn't be type of stuff, all those types of things, that I find that people do have. And that's it though. And so in my games anyway, with a lot of that type of stuff, I'm more just like, I mean, are you happy with what you have or not? And if not, then like go to 2024 or whatever, it's just one of those deals, because we're not competing against each other. Now I get some tables, like if you're running a table on D&D 24, your table is super competitive, and it's like matters who has more HP and who has more damage and whatever. I could then see maybe you have an issue there. But if you've got a good table and a bunch of people who are just like into what's happening, the story, so to speak, and all that, I don't find that to be too much of any type of problem with that. But yeah, but most of mine are going over just because, frankly, it works really well. And I would say I definitely, personally, from what I've been able to do with it, I enjoy it far better than the 2014. They set out to improve things, and I think they really did, changing stuff around. And I think there's debates on did they need a whole book or whatever, but I mean, game companies is going to make money on yeah, that's kind of what they do. That's a little bit of how I think of a lot of that. They have to get you buying stuff. So it's fine. But and really, like, if you play it, it's improved. Like, there's an improved version of the game. And so I come from World of Warcraft stuff, which means I'm very used to being screwed over by the people I've been giving money to, and that just whenever they upgrade, right? Whenever they would do the new expansion or whatever, whenever they want to do something new, if you've put your money into what's old, what came before, there's no return on that, right? And the price to come in is always lowered for the people. So, like, I think when I played World of Warcraft, it was like $13 a month, right? So you can play a year, and you put all your energy into it, right? So that's $136, something like that, right? And $156 maybe. But you're playing, and then they do the brand new expansion, right? They make potentially leveling a lot easier. Or what's more is you've been playing many years, and someone just hits level 60, and you've been at 60 for a year, which was max level at that point. And now, basically, within the first few quests in the new area, everyone's on the same level. All your old gear that you got from this place or that place is pretty much gone, except for a few pieces. But it's so, and by the time everyone hits max again, it doesn't really, any of it matters. It's all gone, and now some people could have come in, paid a lot less money than you, a lot less expertise than you, but are actually beating you in the charts or whatever. I went through that several times in WoW. So I guess just for me, for beating gaming a lot, when a company goes, hey, let's do this, and goes, yeah, like some of the stuff we've already written in our books, like they wrote some rules in Tasha's that they pulled over to the new players handbook, and they took some stuff from Xanathar's and a bunch of places, and they go, well, here it is. It's like, could you have made these changes for the most part without buying the new one? Potentially. But the whole point of it is that they standardize it. Now everybody knows what it's talking about. We know it's the new rules. We know that they're, what to expect. Because homebrewing, actually, even getting a homebrewer accepted, even as a pro GM, it's actually really, really hard. There's a lot of people like, oh, what's this, what's that, like to blame you if anything goes wrong, or they like to go to the homebrew rule as the cause of it or whatever. And when you have a rule that the wizards say, hey, we play tested the heck out of this, we changed it, I mean, it's good. So that's sort of my take on it. But now that I've babbled a little bit, let's say chat. Hey, Bobby, I want to say, anybody coming into chat, if you have a question, you can just type in big caps question and then colon, and then you just ask. Because again, I have a few things I'm trying out, but I would love to answer such things. So I want to do this more, make it feel a bit more content for people because of things. Right now, what I'm working on is I'm prepping for, like I said, a new campaign starting Thursday. And today's Thursday, so it'll be running now, which is fun. It should be on stream like everything else. Very excited for that. And it's, as of right now, it's definitely going to be a Wild Mount campaign. which is very good. And Misbehave over here is definitely in it, so that's very fun. So super pumped about the new campaign. And I've been working on kind of the creation stuff for it. Somebody was actually asking me in the chat of those who are in it so far, what are we doing? And I'm tweaking our usual kind of because guide. I'm tweaking what we usually do. The Heroic Guide to Wild Mount, or Explorer's Guide to Wild Mount, I think, has a Heroic Chronicle. That's very, very good. But I like to mess with it a little bit. And what we're going to be working on as a little sneak peek is a character web, which I've been spending some time on, spent some time today on it. And it's the basic idea is to help everyone make their characters, right? So that you get all that individuality you want, including some NPCs and getting a little bit of guidance of here's an I need an NPC that does this, or an NPC that's a little like this and whatnot. I've made these like one like sentence like, hey, this is just a type of character that's in your backstory that you're connected to, right? In addition to ones that you would like make from scratch. And if you wanted to make like have more leads, you could ask me for more. But basically we'd spread those out and everyone would start to kind of make it from prompts or their own, depending. But everyone has to make one for the prompt, basically. Then they could do others. And that makes like kind of a setting of it. So that starts it, right? That's where we start off. And whether those could be your brothers, your sisters, maybe somebody off the street. And with that also, with the NPCs that we all create that number, there's a time factor. And you get to choose from a selection of times how long ago you last really had or were in contact with them. So how much time has gone between you and them. That's kind of the second piece of it. And these are all meant to be short bullet points for me. But then things you can make a longer story on. But it really gives me, helps me get the bare bones of all the characters, but also that you're making up, but also helps you because you can now make a flower, you can make your novel of your backstory as you want, if you so desire. But or you can keep it real short and sweet. So that's the one step, right? You're making all this stuff, and just like the Heroic Chronicle that I'm basing most of it off of, because it's great, is you get a little few bonuses and things here and there. And then I'm doing a little bit different. So from there, what I did in my last one. So I ran one off the Heroic Chronicle. We just started a few weeks ago. It goes Fridays. I think it's filled. I think we're maxed on that. But we're kind of doing Call to Nether Deep, and we're doing Vecna Eve of Ruin as one big campaign. So likely 80 sentence something. Yeah. Like 80 sentences there. Definitely more than 2 sentences backstory. 2 sentences for each person so far, but I'm going to get back to that. But anyway, one thing we did for character connection is we used Your Best Game Ever and did a lot of theirs, which I've done for some other campaigns. But we started to give people connections, and there's like a trait you share because of that. And so far, it's actually proven pretty fun. And we've had and people have had to be very careful. It's added a little bit more difficulty to the game in certain aspects, which has been quite fun. Because first it's like basically, a stand in the back and help everybody character and a tank character. Got when one gets damaged, we both get damaged, which is absolutely amazing. And what's awesome is that the two people worked together fairly well and the team works together to mitigate that. And that's what really made it amazing to me is the team said the whole campaign agreed, hey, we're going to come around to this and make it like it's a thing, and our characters really care about this. We care that whenever you get hurt, we want to be a part of this, and so it created kind of this family dynamic right out of the gate of that campaign, which is really cool. And I always like to note when things do that, because that's the goal when you're regular DM, pro DM. First session, you want everyone to essentially love each other here, right? And you want them to care about each other. You want them to be crushed if one of them dies. Like if one would die for a session, you want tears, right? That's kind of what you're looking for. And so that worked really well. So back to what I was saying before. When we're doing these character things, one thing that I'm implementing in the new one, when we go forward, start with Session 0, is once we have some of these NPCs, what we're going to be doing is the characters are going to start to figure out, and at least in a possibly instead, possibly in addition to, right? And we'll have things where like characters know each other, but in addition to any of that, what we'll probably do first is how does one of the people you made up from your backstory know this other person's backstory, right? Which means these are going to be connected, right? So if you think of it as a web, one might say the characters kind of have their little connections, but then further, the people connected to them also have connections. And so in what happened to them? Why are they connected? And we'll be able to make that as a little bit of a web as well. So possibly, one of your parents, how do they know the person who, taught the wizard some of their stuff, right? And this means that some of the NPC information is shared, right? Some of these backstory things are shared. And then we kind of figure all that out and begin to connect that. And then we begin to go forward. And so as we start the campaign, everybody has these there's these different places, and you can also decide. So as we start the campaign, we decide, do you know this? So you as a player might know something, but your character does not, right? So you can go, my character doesn't know this, but this is how they're connected. And my player doesn't know, but this is how they're connected. Maybe they were divorced. Maybe they were on the opposite sides of a war, and they made the treaty that did the war. And maybe they were rivals, or maybe they were this or whatever, right? All these different things. And then you make your web, and you continue to go forward out from there. And then I, as a DM, get to kind of go, okay, and we know kind of the locations where they were, which is in addition, one thing, as we talk in the new campaign, we're going to do is a lot of this comes after we choose our starting area. And people will kind of go, okay, you need someone who you are into, right? Or not into, but somebody who's connected to you, someone who's significant to you within where we are. So if we're playing the world of Wildmount, let's say we're in Sarius, the City of Beasts, possibly. Well, everyone needs somebody in the City of Beasts that they have a connection with, right? So we would go there, and then everyone, if we're in Xurhas, it's going to be maybe a Xurhas campaign. Is that what we're doing? Cool. Someone else somewhere else in Xurhas. Cool. And then eventually, after we get some that kind of go, cool, we have somebody for kind of where we are right now. We have some connections for as we kind of get a little further out, right? Now, where maybe in Wildmount do you want your next one? And then possibly from there, where in Exandria, would you like your next one? Right. And again, not a lot, just 3 or 4 and again, they can be really short at first. In the initial session, we don't need to flesh out everything about these. We just need the basics. And then we need to be basics we like, and then we're going to stick to as we get the story. And then we need to stop with it, because at one point, and what I would say to everybody is, after this session, you're handed me this piece of your backstory, right? This person with your backstory, you've got the details that, these are the details you definitely want in there. And then I get to do what I need to do to make it totally work. That's why we need to keep those, anywhere from 3 to 7 sentences, depending on what we do. And they'll change. This way, I think each one will change a little bit as we figure it out. Because someone will go, well, this sentence, I don't think I need to really write too much about this character, because I don't even care. Well, that's fine. But that way, we get to flesh these out, and then we push them wherever we want over the world, or at least where you last saw them, because there's going to be that time difference, right, of when you last saw them. The last time you heard of them, whatever, they were here. They might not be there anymore. Who knows what's going on. And then we will move on from there. And now they're connected to you. They have different places. There's connections to these pivotal people in our campaign, because they're connected to the characters, are now connected to one another. And therefore, there's multiple ways that we can get there. which gives us immense amount of possibility for what I think takes up most of my roster, which is I call them the home games. Right. So for anyone who cares, so I run home games Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, coming up Thursday, and there's a small home game Friday, and then I run a non-streamed home game. We'll call them home games on Saturday, and so that's 6, right? 6, and what I mean by home game is that there's not a defined. This is how we started, and this is how we're ending this game, right? There's one more there, so 7. Because that night's 1 too, and then that's kind of how it is, right? It's not super defined at the campaign outset, where we discover it together, right? So those are narrative games, right? Those are highly narrative. Every single one is super high narrative, and by narrative, I just simply mean me and the players are making it up as we go, and we're working together to create the thing, right? And all that type of stuff. Now, there's a question on this, which I do like there from how does it work if you gain a new player? Do they all go back and add new details? My general feel for that is basically this is how I imagine I'd be doing the thing, right? I imagine I'll do it like this. First few sessions, maybe 4 to 6 sessions, and we're probably going to figure out how that happened. Let's work them in. Let's work them in the full thing. Then from there, and again, maybe less than that, maybe more than that, depends on the campaign. But from there, it's really, I don't know. What's the best way to work them in? What's the best way to get them as connected as we can be? Is it that many? Do they do less? Do we need to assign them some? Right? Do we go, hey, here's the list of NPCs, here's the list of connected people that have yet to kind of have to do with, maybe we kind of move up into here, right? And I think that's the whole deal. And what's key to that is the players don't need to know the details, who made the NPC, right? Because once they submit it into the session 0, their first session, their hands are off. That's where the cooperation comes in with D&D anyway. So D&D, a lot of it is, I have it for this period of time, I give it to you, I let go, and whatever you do, right? And there's a lot of trust in that. And you have to kind of keep going, and then there's check-ins. And as a DM, a lot of times I will check in with people. I'll go, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Does this sound all right? And players will check with me because they want to do something a little different. Hey, I want to bring up a point that I didn't tell you to a backstory. Is that okay? Is that going to mess with anything? And those are conversations that you should be having with your players and your DM when you do that type of stuff. Just make sure. And what I really love about that is especially when it's asking and giving somebody veto power in the question is super freeing to the person, because it's no pressure. The person can say, nope, don't like it. You gave me the veto power, I'm using it. Or they can go, yeah, that's fine. Here's maybe some of this other stuff that we can possibly do. Or, go ahead, full bore, or just give me, okay, let's work out one little thing, right? Here's one thing we need to stay good, or whatever. But to give that to the person, one thing I learned, this is general conversation stuff and general working with people, is for the most part, whenever you hand something, whenever you are asking a question, showing somebody something, for any type of collaborative effort where you're working together, you do so with giving them full permission to toss it in the fire and redo it. That your arguments, your piece, is within the lines of the document you're handing over. So everything you think about it, all your desires are contained within, easily understandable, because if you make it really long, they're not going to do it. So you go as best as I can, and then whatever they do, you let go, because it's collaboration, and you've done your piece. You've done your part. Now they're going to take it and do their part, and then probably maybe head it back or their ask or whatever. But the best thing is just go, yeah, okay. So that happens a lot as a DM with NPCs. Like once I introduce NPC and things start going, the dice start rolling. I have to hold on to that character super loosely on whatever like my dream may have been for them, right? What I wanted them to have it, or what my dream for the party was. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, the stuff that I've had in store for players and stuff that they've gone, nope, we don't want that town of cool people. We don't want these NPCs. We don't want any of that. We don't want to do a storytelling thing. We just want to kill the monsters again or whatever. It's fine. And it's cool. Whatever they do with it, they do. I've done my piece. I've given them the opportunity. And that content will go to another night, and it's okay. Or another campaign, and it's fine. It's fine. And of course, my another campaign, we all know I mean Tuesday. It's true. Tuesday gets like all the goodies that everyone else says no to. It's really true. But that's the reason, though, is because they say yes to everything. I mean, we always call it the shiny red button night, because I mean, I'll be like, a bug goes across the window. I'm following the bug, and they are chasing the bug, and they are ready to go, and they all jump at it. Like no one in that campaign is going, man, let's just stick on the sugar trail. I don't want to, but it's just so funny because the night is so like, let's run, that type of thing. I have no bias, razzle dazzles, no bias at all. Just everyone. It's like saying I have bias in that. It's the same thing like argument my kids make, right? When I kind of go, do you want the banana? Do you want the banana? Do you want the banana? The last kid goes, yes, I want the banana. Why do they get a banana? You said no to the banana. You said no to it. Why are you complaining? So I feel nothing. I feel no regrets for the other nights because they said no. It was there. You said no. That's fine. We'll move on. But no, everyone gets things from that, which is always fun. Different nights we've gotten this stuff, but Tuesday gets a lot of stuff. It's so fun. Yeah, and you shouldn't have regrets actually because it's your game, right? The Tuesday game literally is just, man, it's just different, and so and all that. At any rate, so are these pre-built NPCs? So these are player-made NPCs, right? So player creates these through kind of the Chronicle. So these can be like brothers and sisters, rivals, allies. Like you start to create this in session 0. While we're doing session 0, we're creating this, we're doing this exercise together, and we're making these and we're handing them off, basically. And it's just this exercise where we're creating some of the world together. These aren't ones I'm handing necessarily, though that question, I do think now I might have some in case anyone wants them. At least maybe some NPC profiles, because that way if somebody just feels like, hey, I'll take a profile, they can. But the idea is that the players put in all their creative effort into these few things as we work together. So that's why I said to Zeros, it's a lot of like people like listening and then also working on stuff, and we create this stuff all in there. And so we really want the web done by that time, and of course a detail or two could probably be added, but really kind of like the crux, the personality. And by personality I usually mean kind of like what is their usually what's contained in like kind of the D&D character creation a lot of times, right? It's kind of like, what is their flaw? What is kind of the best thing about them? That type of thing. And so we just kind of get that idea, what's their general rank or whatever, because wherever you put them, like no player is going to know everything that I have to put onto that place, right? So they working for guest and sanatorium. Maybe they don't know what's going on. Maybe they do know what's going on, right? Who knows what's going on? And that place, people are like, I don't know what that is. Yeah, exactly. We know these places, and we'll see what happens and all that type of stuff. So Yeah, we did do pyramids and all those types of things. Yeah, there was a pyramid issue, which was really funny though. It was like, what was it? I think it really was Thursday. Was like, let's go in. Our solution to this problem is we're going to collapse the pyramid upon ourselves. That was the best, and it did. I mean, it definitely did some stuff, which was really good. But that is the thing of a bag of beans and the stuff that can come forward from it. But with all of that, I saw something. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go a few stuff because I did put some stuff. So this was a little bit about Bobby wanting to talk of. Let me get this. Do I need a game? Yeah. I don't know if I need one, but I'd be totally welcome for one. Who knows? Maybe Thursday. Which is one reason why I have to confirm, just because whenever you form a game, especially doing it through Start Playing Games and you're doing it over a few weeks, people kind of go, yeah, I'm interested in this game and I want to play. And then they might join the Discord or whatever your next step is that you kind of funnel them in. And then, like, I mean, not everyone uses Discord, and everyone's on a lot. So sometimes you're like, haven't heard from them for a while. Like, I haven't heard from at least one player for a little bit. And so I need to follow up with them and just make sure, hey, you still in? Because I have five coming up. We're going to have session 0 for Thursday. Because, as incidentally, the reason we're doing that is because a lot of people don't necessarily love the idea of we're going to make up like the what we're going to be doing the game with a bunch of other people, and I'm already committed all the time. Some people like it, some people don't, and I definitely want to start with a core of people who are like down for that 5, and then after that, as people come in, my guess is we'll get a few people going, oh yeah, that particular type of thing you're talking about is funny, or see where it is, what's going on. But yeah, I mean, thing with D&D though, it's so funny. Like, you can say elderly characters, like, cool, yeah, this person's 200 but they look like they're 20, so it's so fun the way you could kind of do that as far as elderly characters. But it's kind of interesting because I wonder, whenever there's like, we're doing a game of all of this, it's one of those deals where as long as it makes sense and we have an idea where it's going to go. Like, so here's my thing when it goes, hey, we're going to do a game and it's all whatever. Here's just my little thing of DMing, that type of thing, is that the next question is cool. Okay, it's cool. Sounds great. So after session 3, what's our campaign about? In other words, our campaign can't be all we're an elderly campaign. So it can't be we're the dumbass campaign. It can't be we're the chaotic campaign. It can't be we're the witch campaign type of deal. That can't be the crux of it. Can't be that's the anime campaign type of deal. Has to be where is it going? A few of those happened on Thursday, which is what's funny, and I learned this with our last one. Really got it in because towards the end of the anime one, it was amazing. We were getting into such cool things. People just couldn't make the night anymore because our Thursday one did not end because of it not being good. It ended just because people's schedules changed so much, and we needed to kind of go, cool, we just people's schedule changed, we need to redo what we're doing. And it wasn't over recruity for the most part, because if you're trying to play D&D, it's the thing we're running is more like that's like your 5th campaign and not a lot of people have done 5 campaigns of D&D, right? That's what like I feel like that the old Thursday one was it's like your 5th campaign, basically, that you generally run. Like, necessarily the 5th on Thursday, but it's like the 5th one that you potentially run, as that's how many you've like completed and done everything, right? It's like you've played a lot of D&D and now you're kind of doing this because it's kind of new and crazy and whatever. But and so that's what I loved about the Thursday one, is it was not the anime one. It changed into, this is about like how we're processing some grief stuff, how we process like horrible things, and there was a definite amount of silliness, but it actually turned into this is the evil. Like how do you do evil things that benefits the greater good? And how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the consequences of that? Those are some of the big things we were dealing with on the Thursday one in a very hilarious fashion. But I really enjoyed that part of it. It really became a little bit about that. Had that those bigger questions, yeah, and that was super fun. So I really like that. But in other words, we can all start off, but I do think you could say we're all going to be over a certain age. We're all going to be youngsters. We're all going to be teens. We're all going to be witches. We're all going to be wizards. That's totally fine. You just have to go, that's not the campaign, though. What is the campaign? And just take that next step. Cool, we're all witches. We're all sisters. We're all related. Whatever it is. All that's fine. All that makes amazing, amazing, amazing campaigns. It's just what's next. What do we do? What do we hate? What is the other thing? So that now we have an idea for that campaign. Crime solving Inquisitor wizards. I want to do it so bad, Fire. That's I would love it so much. I'd want to start from one. I'd be very thinking about that because I want them to grow in what they do. But I would love that campaign. And again, like that is what we're starting with, and then we got to kind of go, cool. What city are we in? What's some of the stuff that's we're generally trying to do? All those types of things are the questions we ask from there, and we could actually build something really cool. But yeah, that's kind of that type of stuff. But it's Acquisitions Incorporated C team. They have a very elderly woman, grandmother knight, or just Rosie. So this one elderly one that's like super fun, and they do a lot of stuff with that. And I highly suggest that actually. And if you actually like, if you like Acquisition Incorporated, all C team's really fun to watch because it's a little bit of like what's going on in the background of the Acquisition Incorporated. What's the true story? And all that type of stuff. Yeah, I think that's one of those deals. So that's kind of like the Dark Academia, whatever we do, and that's why I want to make sure I get the session 0 and the Thursday on without too much trouble here. Because once you have 5, we can really kind of describe that, and we know, cool. Here's kind of what we're playing a little bit, type of deal, or at least how we're starting. And I think that's kind of the other deal is whatever we're doing, we're starting there. Incidentally, because I think Bobby had asked me like, what's some of the stuff as far as creation tip. This is what you need to do with your characters too, and I need to do this with NPCs. So any character creating, whether it's a non-player or player character. This is their basic idea, but where are they going? And so I always say this, like the big thing that again, I think of those 3 to 4 sessions is those are where whatever system you came up with, whatever you think of, whether it's your character or whether it's the group of characters, like you have your gag, right? Everyone has their gag, right? They have their thing they don't understand. The gruff guy is whatever, fine. Maybe second session or third session. But you got to have a plan out of that box in place. And you may not follow that plan, but you have to have one. You have to go, here's how I might get out of the box of my gag, right? Like if a character doesn't know how to read, right? That's common. How am I going to get out of the gag that they don't know how to read? So that it's maybe every 12 sessions or something. Not every session. Because I don't want my character to be defined by not being able to read, but I need to have a plan to get him out of that, and knowing that I need to figure out how that's going to go. And you should probably talk about the GM. There should be some stuff with that. So, for instance, like if I have like a scared child NPC, I know, cool. That's gonna be 2 or 3 sessions of Maiden Scare Child. What's their pathway out, or specifically, what's a pathway they may take out? And I usually do about 3. I never use them because the characters and I figure it out, but that I have already conceived of the release valve of the scared child empowers whatever comes between me and the players, right? So I just it's kind of to me like a planned improv, basically. It's like, cool, I'm really prepared. I'm going to prepare ways in which this can happen, and I will have zero ownership, zero emotion about these ways. I'm going to be scientific with distance from these ways, right? But I'm doing them so that my brain has made some pathways, and I've made some room as I play this character for them to leave this box, for them to leave the gag, right? For them to leave it because of all those type of things. Those types of things, right? So that's always sort of like what we're trying to do when you're making these. And so that's always like the I guess idea, whether you're making an NPC, whether you're making a character, whatever is your deal. Are you grandma? Where's your social role? Are you the hyper religious cleric, the law abiding paladin, the not law abiding paladin, the whatever necromancer, type of deal. Anything you're making, just what's your way out of the little stereotypical box? At least have some ways, and then allow the campaign to make a new way that you didn't think of, possibly. So I'd say that for GMs, for players, that's super huge at the outset of taking them away from there. Whether it's a gruff guard that hates the characters, the king that is bent upon, mass, whatever. You always kind of want these avenues a little bit, what would look like for them not to. Which is a good way to help give characters some room if they are thinking of something, and that type of thing. And a really good, so going off Bobby's here, a really cool campaign to read if you're DMing. So understand, once you read it, you might never get to play it, so it's always a risk there. But or try to run is Witchlight. Is that the Carnival for the Witchlight? The Witchlight Carnival. Whatever was the DB on the Witchlight book. I'm bad with some of the titles of these books, as you can tell, but that is very good because it's a combat option or campaign. But what you'd have to do to not have combat would take your character on an insane journey. So I would really be one where I would definitely encourage people to agree to do it all not by combat and see where that gets them, and allow those big things. You're gonna do some things that your character do things that you don't like that you might be sort of unsettled with, and of course not going against X's or anything like that or limits, but you'd really have to walk that road and go, whatever we do, we can't resort to the why beyond the Witchlight, thank you. We can't resort to violence, or we can't resort to beating people over the head, at all. These are the 3 deals, we gotta take one. We've negotiated these 3 options, now we gotta take one of these, and they all aren't great, but they all do the main thing we wanted to do, which is X or whatever. That is a really great experience, and it's also a cool way to try some stuff out, and it really takes you some fun place. So once you do that really helps you with how to make characters in your games, or your own characters who are loose with that, and just understand, like, hey, like, I don't have to write their ending of their story. Which, by the way, is one of the worst things you do with character creation, is deciding what type of person they're going to be at the end. You can decide what they're going to do. That's one reason I really like the Heroic Chronicle, because when it says, here's the things I want to accomplish, it asks you to write what is the personal consequence that will forever change who your character is after you complete this. And when I've had people do it, and really own that, it has always gone amazingly. And people commit to that. Here's the consequence. So it is hard to get people to do it. I've had people just kind of go, yeah, I'll do it next week. I'll do it next week. They never rate the thing. And what's funny is a lot of the people, those are ones who kind of come back and will go, oh, my character's kind of dead ended and I don't know where to take them. And it's really funny because you're kind of like, I bet, because that's the system to not dead end the character. But it's fine too, because maybe they just loved having that and they would rather play. It's totally fine as a player. Just want to play 1 note or 2 note characters and find an ending and exit. I think it takes a very different mindset to really want to play a character where you don't know where they're going to go, but you're going to play them the entire way, and you're going to go on that journey. And that's not always that you might not find that fun. If you don't find that fun, you're gonna find it fun. Just keep do it differently, even if others are doing it. That's fine. Like as a GM, I'm never like, oh, they didn't. It's fine. It's just you're going to do that eventually. You and the campaign are different. If you haven't made your character able to meld to it, it's going to always be an issue. But if you're fine with it and go, yeah, I'm cool with that, then yeah, just understand that's what you're doing. I think that's like the biggest thing is, and I try to do that, by the way, as a GM. When someone says, I want to do this, I usually go, okay, here's a common consequence of these choices. And as long as you're okay with the consequence, then we're good. But you have to be all right with it. You have to kind of have that in your head, that this is likely where it goes, because that's how storytelling works. 1-note characters, we love them and then we kill them in a lot of books. And that type of stuff. Ones that aren't going to grow or change. That type of deal. Actors quit playing them all the time. That's what you hear a lot of people go, I was playing a character and I just didn't know where else to take them. I didn't hear about anything new with it. And that's, usually the writer or whatever hasn't done much. But in this case, the person who created the character, the player, is the one who is in control of all of that, right? So that's a lot of responsibility, and it's not an easy thing to do. By any means. That's why I like the Horror Chronicles. It gives you this idea of these simple things you can do to make that more likely. Have yourself change as a person because of these major things that you accomplish. So that's my thing on that. But I really would think through that. So I'm running. I guess I'm running my Call the Netherdeep on Friday. And one thing those people could be considering, right, is like they found this person that they think they need to find. They go, okay, after, we find them or whatever, like what's something that my character's going to really second guess about life or the world or whatever, or let me be thinking of the thing that they'll begin to second guess. Or let me, and again, one thing from Best Game Ever that I really talk about all the time is hold on to your characters loosely. So that's DMs. Hold on to your character, but loosely. Hold on to your storyline, but loosely use character. You want to kind of keep it, but very loose. And by loose, it's not that you're okay that they die or anything. It was just loose that you're ready for them to change. You're ready for them to grow. You're ready for the pathway of their maturity as a character in whatever story you're telling. And that you're going and that you're ready to begin to have fun with whoever they become, right? And you're going to go, that's going to be fun about playing whoever they will become one day, type of thing, And so all that. All right, I'm putting out some stuff that was up in the Discord now. Any other questions? Again, you can kind of throw all that in there. So yeah, I went through a lot of character creation tips. I think that's good. Again, I think biggest thing in character creation that will help you is getting much connections that you can, simple ones, between the world and the characters you're playing with, and in that let your character change in that process. Like, oh, I'm going to make my character a little different because this person is this, and allow that to mutate your character in a way, and that type of thing. And then, like I said, be ready for whatever you think your character is. Like, they're good. Get ready for them to turn evil a little bit. They think justice is the way. Get ready for them to hate justice and hate the legal system or question it. I think is the other thing is if you're making a character that's something like I think this is really good with the paladin, right? Paladin's a good example of this. Paladins tend to be like I am by the that's the kind of cookie cutter paladin is I am about the law and the rules, about my deity or whatever. Cool. You're not going to question those, but what are ways you think your character might question how they are applied or abused by people with power or money or influence, right? And when your character finds the abuse, and they can't use the legal systems to do anything, what might they do? What might they think? What might they say? And start asking those questions, because that prevents your paladin. That prevents you from going to your GM. And I've had these. I made my character. They really rules, and we start to not like the rules because of this. And now I don't think I can play them. And again, that's fine, because we want you to play a character you like, and so no DM is going to say no to you. But I think every DM goes, oh man, that's unfortunate. The reason it's unfortunate is because you could have had a lot of fun in letting this happen, staking your core. You love justice, but just how you see this happening, and that your character starts to think different. That could be really fun. So that's kind of that thing. To always be thinking of what are ways that might happen, and then let the story happen and decide how that goes. Because your character can begin to move that way, I think. So yeah, I do like the become Batman. We had a paladin become Batman. That was super fun. These are what GMs dream about. It's true, though. As GMs, I think we all, when we're playing a game, we're always like, what can I do to challenge the character? Put something in front of them that's not an easy answer. That they're training or whatever it is. This is not super simple. And it's going to really make them make a choice and have to question if what they believe is right is still right or still the best way. And one thing I like to think about it as is, and said in a little bit of a simpler way, is that when people make characters, just by the sheer of doing it, generally speaking, they're not overly nuanced. And usually their beliefs are not nuanced, especially in D&D. It's, I think this is bad, I think this is good, I am crazy, I need alcohol to understand the life, because one of the things in the character creation, right, they're just so one note. And even if you have a sentence back, it's still very, very thin. So it's cool. What can I do to just have the player put some nuance into there, have to make a hard decision, or feel the weight of what they wrote? Right? That's super hero. Yeah. Super important. Yeah, and that's my favorite too. I think when people become blank, that's how the campaigns that do the best, and generally have the best reviews from the players who say the best things about them, get the best things said about them, are that when people come in and just go, "What? Okay, cool. I'm ready to make the character here, and we're going to play it off of each other. It's going to be, we're making it together. We're going to reveal things and all those type of things. And build their characters together. That is that. No other way, in my experience, 1,500 plus games, has come close to producing the results. Now the thing is that, no matter what you do as a GM, you can say it to your blue in the face. People might come with a preconceived, and they go, "Oh, from everything, I'm going to go with this character that I've thought of," or whatever. Fine, and you just go, "Okay, this is just not the one that's going to be as good as it could," and that's okay. That's just okay. It's really all right. And that's something that I think, especially what the lines between a good and bad GM a lot of the time, is being able to believe that wholeheartedly, and to go, it is just okay that this game isn't the best thing that it could have necessarily been. We can still have an amazing time, and we can adapt, and we can do some things, and because it's a important place, we're comfortable, and it's all these things, and it's fine. You just go with it, and that's super. And I think that's a lot of times on Pro GM side. That's really that's one of the skills that Pro GMs all have. I think on SPG, the ones that are doing it have learned. Hey, like I can lead him to water. I can't make him drink, and it's all right. And we're gonna work around it. We're gonna work around it. And at the same point, by the way, do have things they just go this or the highway you can go, because you have to protect some game integrity. If you go with you have to have some type of box around your sandbox, at some level. But but you want that to always just understand that whenever you're enforcing one of those or making one of those, you are making an exit ramp for a player. And so you really want it to be something with, I'm okay with a player exiting over this line. As long as you are, everything's fine. I think that's the biggest deal. Is I'm fine. And in some cases, I'm okay with this game ending over this line. That's the other bit of that. Like they can leave, two people can leave because they left, and I'll sleep at night because this line's really important and it's key to this, and it's okay. Now, ideally, that's communicated and everything, but it's just all right, if it's such a line in the sand. Again, this is a case where a player would say, "I want this," and the GM kind of goes, "Sorry, that's just outside of what we're going to do." Well, I can't play in a game where what my idea is outside of what we're doing. Oh, okay, that's fine. You go. Well, I can't play in two other people. Well, I can't play in that either. Okay, we'll end it. Maybe we'll do a new one, or maybe you hate me so much, or whatever. That's fine. But this is at some point what we were doing. Now the GM at that point could also go, oh, maybe I want to change that line, but maybe not. Maybe that'll just not work for the GM. So it's, again, everyone's working together, and you're having your lines, and so the same ones, just like we do in the content, right? When we do our X cards and whatnot, somebody says, "Hey, X in this session, I don't want this." Cool. Basically at that point, and what that player is saying is, I cannot play in a game where we do this. And for the most part, a GM is going to go, sure. But if it's something against that hurts the crux of the game, the GM might go, okay, y'all, I guess we need to play a new game, or this player needs to go because it's in our content or whatever. Like I think we need to decide on this, right? So, for instance, if it's if you have a game and it is the attack of the killer squirrels, somebody having an issue with squirrels is not going to make the squirrels less deadly and attacky. They just can't play the game because it's attack of the killer squirrels. And that's what you're recruiting for. And maybe you fill the game and maybe you don't. But, then you might go, okay, let me do a different one. So you're always making these up. And with people in your house, it's a little different. Because really, if you've picked your players before you've picked your game, then you really do need to go, okay, cool, let's come around and figure this out a little bit. But yeah, it's all those like little things, stuff like that. Yeah, I think as we're doing player creation, character creation, big thing is you're always thinking of what's next, making sure people don't do boxes and all that type of stuff. Let me see here. For the session starts to give some 1 sentence backstories. One has done a lot of bad stuff and continues to be true. You could be a good one with that. I think that's the whole deal. Like, it's funny. All the tools and the tricks, it's all to give everybody the best chance. And but not everybody needs all of it, right? And sometimes the campaign needs a thing or whatever. And as long as everyone's on the same page of that flexibility and ready to go over, because I think to your point, you're playing a lot of my games. You're so good about kind of figuring out how you're going to have your character fit in something, and that's so you could do that if you're super loose and ready to kind of have your character be Play-Doh there and just let it be pushed into the mold a little bit, still keep the basic sense of it, but kind of go, oh, these pieces, and be, I'll find my place and, whatever. I don't need to know my place before I go in. That's totally cool. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, and that's cool too. I mean, because we're like I'm me too. Like if I know a character's coming, I can't help but have ideas about the character. So it's gonna be there, but it's definitely there's a difference between I have three ideas and going and there must be these three, and I don't care if we're on the moon. I will have this type of character that is allergic to the moon and will die in the first session if you don't change. There's a very big difference with that, right? And so to do that, yeah, cool. So other things that people would ask me to kind of do this is kind of integrating player backstory into a published adventure campaign. Some examples given were Curse of Strahd or Wilds Beyond the Witchlight. Yeah, I think so. So two things: you want to be able to hold the content loosely. So when I read a campaign, I'll tell you what I do. When I read a campaign, I really look for the broad brushstrokes, assuming it's going to be a long campaign or like it's a campaign of the idea of something. And I'll tell you the difference here. So Curse of Strahd or Wild Beyond the Witchlight are very heavy thematically. So my responsibility when I say we're going to run a Curse of Strahd or Wild Beyond the Witchlight is to keep that theme, not necessarily every detail of the book, but it's the theme that we've signed up for. It's the emotion, right? It's the dramatic push that we're all here for, and define those things too. Make sure everybody knows them. That's kind of step one for me. Versus, I was running Agents of the Empire, and that one, like we kind of agreed, it was going to be like a serial show, like you might see episodic of spies, like MacGyver, like some of these other things we watch, and we're going to really keep it in a certain thing and experience what these people wrote because we appreciate the people as authors and just wanted to live it out. Right, that's what we wanted out of that. That was what we decided we were going to do. We kind of did that with Dungeons and Dragonheim, and like for me, I already know I am never running Dungeons and Dragonheim kind of in this very as written format in my life. Again, I'm going to do it like cool. We're going to get everyone together, and then we're going to decide what this is going to be. Which I did when I ran it the one time and I did the other time, and I realized that two did very different results. And so I was like, I understood that about it. So it's really like, what's the point? Here's this theme, and we can lighten the theme, and we can, we really want to make sure there's room for everybody to breathe in it, and all those types of things. But integrating backstory into a published adventure campaign, Chris Chadwell Beyond the Witchlight, is to give them the walls and their limitations, and not fuss on it. So, like in Vatican Clans, what is the heroic deed you did that everyone knows you for? There was times when a few people were like, "Well, I don't know if I want one." No, you have to have an heroic deed, even if you did it accidentally, or even if it's bragged. But no, we need this because it is key. If we don't have that, the whole thing falls apart. It is absolutely important that we do it that way. Dungeons and Dragonheim has all these like keys there. You got to pick one of these keys because that's how you get integrated into the campaign. Same with Curse of Strahd, Wide Beyond the Witchlight. They have examples of that. I think Wide Beyond the Witchlight, I know. Curse of Strahd, I've just never read. I know a lot about it because people talk about it all the time, but I think mostly just because I'm like, I'll likely never run it. Unless a table really, really wanted it badly, or just ask me. I guess if a current group says, "Hey, we'd like to do Curse of Strahd next" or whatever, I might. But I would probably not like try to make one from scratch because it doesn't excite me necessarily. But Wide Beyond the Witchlight does, and that in particular one, they give this whole idea of you have to choose one of these three ways that have to, and in these little three things, they give examples of what has to be in the character's backstory to integrate. And so they're kind of the big hook. So that's what you're really looking for. What has to be true for the story to make sense? what has to be correct about them. On Planescape, the biggest thing is they need to have a Nexus feature. They need to be variations of a concept or a person or something, or a history or a story or something. But they have to be variations of a thing. And that's really important. If they're not variations of a person or thing, whole thing falls apart. So beyond that, do what you want, right? So you want to give the freedom, but you want to go there. So that's kind of step one. And then as far as integrating, to me, the integration is then going, cool, who are these already NPCs who are going to know them or not know them or whatever. It's that's sort of the big thing. Who might they go for? So the key to me of that, by the way, integrating player backstory, is to go through when I'm reading the campaign and more fully flesh out the characters, or not even flesh them out. Make sure I understand who the NPCs are. What makes them tick? Why do they wake up in the morning? Who do they kiss, or who do they wish they would kiss in the morning? I have a question on all my stuff, by the way, and I do put this in quotations. I put where do they go to church, and what I mean by that, where are they spiritually refilled? And spiritually, I usually put quotes too because it can mean like for their job, for their focus, what they think is good and bad and evil and horrible, all these types of things. What reaffirms that to them daily or weekly? What do they do that reaffirms that in their life? So an example of church in a character thing could be time with kids, if for NPCs, because like time with their family, or it could be or sitting in a park watching people go by, thinking about them, all these different things I would make that, but that's kind of how they reestablish who they are. And that activity is very important to them. And that from there changes my idea of them a little bit. And the benefit of that is once I have all that, again, hold on to it loosely. Once people begin interacting, I can fit it into their backstories. I could take that and push them into that, right? So they got to live in my head a little bit for that to go. Let me get some chat questions here or comments. So yeah, shoot, Boy J, I loved that character. I wish you could have played all of Jack and I with us. That would have been so much fun. I really wish that, because that was going to be. I had all the stuff planned that it could have even had more beyond that, just in case, because you never know what was going to happen. But or I guess we did another time. But I really did. You did a really good job on that. Yeah, Planescape is super challenging. On the GM side, the most of the games I run too, both sides. I mean, it is crazy. My review on it, I haven't gone all the way through it, is I feel like I wish that there's some stuff I just wish they would have done a little bit more with. I guess some pieces in part one, which we're still on in that campaign, are just thin than others, and they're meant to, it feels like they should be as thick. Like the crux and story of the campaign makes you feel like these pieces should all be about equally thick, and they're just not, and it's hard sometimes to really figure out how to do that, and for some of them they don't give you enough. I also wish in that particular book they would have given you a little bit about all the planes a little better. So incidentally, if you run Planescape, what I suggest you do is buy immediately Manual of the Planes for 3.5 D&D, because it doesn't really have any mechanics in it. It might have one or two, but it really has almost no mechanics in it. It's just lore of the planes, because it's not really existent otherwise in that book. It gives you like one sentence about it, and it's kind of crazy. And so and again, you're going to make your own world still, but I would definitely get that and read it if you are running that campaign. Even if you just read it when your players want to go into one, I mean, that's fine too, but it just gives you a bit more on it. and helps you understand. So when your players say, "Let's jump through the gate," you're ready for it. Um, which thankfully I had ratted to when players wanted to go into the Beastlands, and now they're in Mount Celestia. We have content that we can kind of come up with, and all that type of stuff. Yeah, there's so much lore. Everything you want to know about the D&D world is in the 3.5 lore books. It's so true. But there's a lot about them as books, as formatting, that make them a little more difficult to get through. So, like, to me, they're very reference books because that's kind of how I can do it. When I need to know something, I can go to it. Is my deal versus kind of just reading it all. And again, mostly just because the formation of them, formatting, I guess is a better word. Back to the Planescape. The only reason why I feel Planescape super challenging, because the Planescape world is like that entire place is about different philosophies and ways of thinking, and then especially when you go onto a plane, you leave the physics of what you're used to, and because the physics in Outlands, with some exceptions, are mostly the same as the material plane, which is basically mostly the same as the world we all live on, except there's magic, right? Well, when you go into a plane, all that shifts. So, like, thoughts and your emotions, your past deeds, your future deeds. When you see an animal, do you get hungry? Like, all these things matter deeply. And so, like, we're on Celestia right now, Mount Celestia, and that whole place is about you being good, and it will do what it needs to do so you become good. And if you don't become good, you become dead. Like, that's how Mount Celestia is. So it is like the rough. Now the gate town to it's not, or the gate town is where there can be room for gray, right? And that's because that's kind of lore wise, the gate town can exist if it was wholly this other thing. But it is so what it is. It's very, and just like the hells are that way. Hells are just evil. There's nothing redeeming about them. They are there to punish, and not only are they there to punish, they're there to make souls worthy of punishment, to manipulate people up there to get them to succumb to punishment. Right? That's kind of how it is, and it's just to really embody that can be very challenging, and then to deal with that, to deal with the fact that is like gravity, corruption, becoming evil in the hells and becoming good in Mount Celestia is gravity. You ultimately can't fight against it, and if you try to defy it too much, you're going to fall and get crushed. Right? That's how those planes are designed. So because of that, it could get very difficult on both sides. You know what I mean? That was a fun character. I remember that was like a sentence or two. I think when we wrote it, we were like, oh, and then we let that one go. I think that's one of those fun things of just we let this character, and then they just kept on developing, kept on being something. And part of that was the way the fear was and how scary they ended up being. I was ready for that person to get confronted and them not become something, and then there just was this terror of them that just kind of changed. That fed into so much stuff. Yeah, we really got to figure out your Planescape character more and more. So it's so fun. That could be so long fire. But yeah, if I talk to me about that, I mean, whatever you want to do ultimately, if you don't want to play in the, I think you could do well in the Mount Celestia Gate Town. By the way, but if you're not feeling the Mount Celestia vibe, I mean, that's valid. We're gonna talk about what that might look like whatever. Yeah, liches can be good. Yeah, I think that's, and like I said, that's perfectly okay to kind of go through that because it is a very, I think coming in as a like spanking new, hey, we're Mount Celestia, is very rough a little bit because it is because it's all about your character transforming every session, and you kind of don't know who your character is yet. So that's rough. At least some of the other ones, at least they've played them for a few sessions, if not more. So it works out a little bit better. So that's good. But yeah, who knows? Liches are liches. It's all good. All right. So, incidentally, any of my GM friends, if you did want me to take a look at your listing during this time, I'd be happy to do it, though you would have to let me bash it to the internet. But let's see here. Which again, by the way, if any of my GMs are here, I am running 2 more how to do your listing on SPG this month. It's all on, you can find it on my profile. I'll link in Discord in a little bit too. But if you missed, some people missed the last one because of it ran when it said it was going to run, but it was a confusing time. But yeah, we can definitely make that happen. All right. So you can sign up for another one if you want to. Is what I'm saying. If you missed that one. But yeah, back to kind of what was put in my Discord. I would say integrating things into this published ones. My other advice on that, and this is one that I've become more on, because I'd say if you're in my earlier games, you would see I didn't really do this, and I think more people experience it a little more now. But it's like anything, trying to, like anything you say, you can't just take it and do it, like that's it, because you have to still go by the game. But is integrating those connections into them within each character within the first 3 sessions of having their backstory matter. Something in their backstory is occurring and connected. Ideally, session 1 for each character. That would be my personal. That's how I want to run every campaign, whether I can or not. A lot even depends on what the players give me, if they answer all my questions, if they work with me a little bit, or if how they're feeling that day. There's a lot of X factors. An RP moment we really want to have fun with, right? So you can't be super wooden with everything, but within the first 3, having the backstories come into play in really interesting ways, or as cool ways you can manage in the 3 sessions. Right, the best I can do when I have something interesting with the backstory in the first 3, and then try to do it maybe every 5 or 7. But even if it's something like I have 7 players, every player someone's backstory is going to be different every time, and do that, even if maybe some are more interested in others or whatever. But try to get that more and get it mattering quicker. That is one thing I think, and whether you're doing that as a homebrew or whether you're doing that as a published, I think that's a good thing to try to do. The more I've done that, the more I've integrated that into what I do, the better results I've seen. That's been something I've been integrating with very recently in the last few months. So some things have just done better from that. So I've been a lot more satisfied, which is good. And then I know I did see the one in here about, because people do ask this. I get this question through SPG things like, hey, what are some tools and management that you can suggest? I don't have suggestions. I don't think I have any suggestions. I have ones that I use sometimes. There's other ones out there, but I don't think nothing I use I would ever suggest to somebody, because I feel like they are what they are, and there's nothing I use that I love. Like things I use work. If they didn't work, I wouldn't use them anymore. But I don't love them a lot. Like again, they work. They do the thing. I pay whatever I pay for them, and they're fine. But I'm not in love with them. But so it's hard for me to go. I suggest this because I'm like, and incidentally, I mean, what's so funny to me is like D&D Beyond to me is actually one of the best tools. So if I were to give a suggestion, it's not so much for the tool, is that I would say, here's the deal. We're going to go ahead and, here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to use D&D Beyond. Everyone put your backstories in your character sheets, do it there. And then for the campaign notes, we're going to go ahead and put stuff in there. Of course, Discord's a good management tool, but that was like very important to me was go ahead and, to me is like keep things in D&D Beyond. That would probably be my biggest thing is because that's where characters are if you're on D&D. So characters where everything, if I was going beyond that, I would do my best to use a single tool, whatever tool we use for character management, we make use for in campaign management. So my suggestion, is to pick a tool that can do a little bit of everything and use that to the full extent. And then when that tool becomes super weak for a very specific thing, search out, this other thing or whatever. So examples like I didn't, we didn't have a interactive map for Exandria for a long time, and we didn't need it. And then when it really became like we really need something that can input everything, we made it, and then it's been all right. And then yeah. So and incidentally, like so that's what we did with the maps. We gave everyone access to our maps. Everyone access to can write their characters. Everyone has access to everything, and the majority of players don't use it. I really loved the tool Mythweaver, and I think it'd be great. But it was funny. I said, "Hey, everyone, please make something on Mythweaver." Like on Wednesday, I think 3 people did it ultimately. And so if not everyone wants to use it, you just can't make, again, if you want to kind of go do this or quit, look at this and whatever, or whatever, kind of goes through. Yeah. And well, yes, you haven't been having the Mythweaver things like, yeah. And like, you never put Mythweaver on Nala for Wednesday, right? That's like one of the things. It's like, I don't have Nala because she was never inputted. And so it's like, to me as a GM, I wanted to use it to do this big thing. And it was like, wow, this person didn't put their character in and this person didn't put their character in. And it's very interesting where it's like, well, now I can't do what I wanted to do with it. And so that's the problem with the tools is that if everyone doesn't obey the rules of the tool, it doesn't work. And so that's what I've learned of the wisdom is that what am I asking everyone to use and how necessary is it that they use it to the game? And a majority of the tools require it. Now, the nice thing about maps was it Ward Anvil. People don't have to use it. People do it, it's great. But I get everything I want out of it without people using it. And that's not true with Mythweaver, unfortunately. And so when people don't use it, it's like, sucks. When people do, it's nice because it does hold their stuff. So, like I said, I think like it's one of those deals. It's like, wow, you could do this in DBN, you can do this in DBN. It's probably the best place for a lot of this, because Mythweaver to me is not about its image generation. That wasn't what it was. It was never about character generation. It was all about more the idea that it was going that it helps you. What it's meant to do is organize character notes, character backstories, and then you can put in your NPCs, and you can put in the notes from all the sessions, and then you can say, hey, take all of this that everyone's input and that I've inputted, and tell me some stuff. Tell me some things that you see, or give me 3 things that would potentially interest these characters, and give me little starting points. Right, that's what it's meant to do. But again, people don't use it. I can't use it for that. And so often I don't. But it's nice for the ones it does. I have one campaign right now that has done what they were asked. And it was just so funny thing, and I get why people don't. It's work, and we don't all have that time. So I'm not against, like, I never shake my head at people when they don't. It tells me that's just not there, and I don't need it. It'd be nice, but it's not something that's necessary for everything. Too much. So it does, so yeah, I think that's kind of my deal with a lot of stuff. When it comes to the tools, you got to really make sure that everyone gets the value too. Like I say, hey, Mythweaver, and people go, yeah, Mythweaver. You're like, it sucks, not going to work. As what used to happen a lot of times in like a workplace. Everyone says, this is the software I want everybody. No more emails. And everyone still emails. Because you don't have the buy-in, and sometimes you can succeed and generate the buy-in to it. Sometimes you don't succeed, even though you wish you would, because you think it would be cool. But that's life. That's how it goes. Yeah, deal with it. So yeah, that's. I think that's the thing with the GM. I mean, too, or players. You come into a table. We have dreams of the table we're all playing around. The GM has the dreams of the table they're running, but they're going to get quashed. They're going to die on the vine. Some of them, and it's okay. And that's the thing, is you never want to hang yourself on any of this stuff. Besides what everyone has already really agreed to, which ultimately is. Like things like the rules, right? Or D&D Beyond or whatever. So that's like one thing. People go, can I not have my character on D&D Beyond? Nope. You cannot play, but you can't not have your character on D&D Beyond. Like I said, that's a deal breaker for me because it is too valuable of a tool. And I am going to be using it to do the thing. I need access to your characters at 3 a.m. when I've woken up and can't get back to sleep. And if I can't have access to everything and until that, and I usually tell people, like, make sure it's in there. Like if I'm writing it, like, if I'm writing an adventure for a campaign thing and people, have the backstory blank, guess you don't get your backstory. You haven't given me anything. It's like, you need to put your stuff in there. Like, use that as like, this is the data collection tool. Everything lives in D&D Beyond. I try to play it as much as I can. And the ones that have done that turn really, really well. And it's easier to sell because you're already making your character in it. I've heard, like, for other systems, Alchemy, I've heard good things about. I've never run a campaign through Alchemy. And, things like Roll20 has a lot of good stuff. It's hard to get it to work for you, which is what's funny. It's like, they have maps and everything. As everything with D&D Beyond now, they have maps, which is great. And I really love that I really hope they keep the 2 tools, by the way, that they keep their new, calling it sigil there, that they're making, which is going to be pretty fun, I think. But that they're going to keep the D&D maps too, and they flesh out both things, because I think it'd be really cool to have just a standard map system that's very simple to use. It gives us all the information we need, then the crazy one if we need it. And I'm interested to see what they do with Sigil. Like, I think for me, the cost in using Sigil is what I'm super waiting to hear on. Just kind of all the ideas you have, and it'd be cost prohibitive. Especially to people who are just kind of playing. Like, what was the thing that kind of gave me the pause? Oh, was the Player's Handbook. They said you get a Golden Dragon mini on Sigil. If you pre-order. That kind of gave me pause, because it was kind of like, so you mean we'd have to buy said mini we have to buy the digital minis separately. Are they in packs? Are they? What is this? So I'm the monetization of it. So it sounds like it's going to be separately monetized from the regular thing. So you don't get it with a master tier, and you have to do a separate money to do something with it. So that's and I don't know how that's going to be, if it's going to be usable, whatever they're going to do. Because a lot of the things that I think that the way that D&D talks, a lot of their videos is like, oh, here's a map of a tower. You can use this for like every tower you do. Here's a map of this, and you can use it for like every of this you do. And the reason they do that really is because people only run so many campaigns. Like, they don't. The common user isn't doing to say what I do or what we do as the community of players. So it's one of those things that might fall short of what we do, unless we do something. But one thing that I'm piecing together as a project is really working on my premium campaigns. By the way, yes, I do too. I love the things they're adding to it. They're making that a better and better tool constantly. Not. Did I say add to my campaigns? I'm not adding it to my campaigns. A product. Let me say this correctly. Things I'm excited about. One product I'm excited about creating is premium campaigns. I'm working on them. I've been working on them. I'm doing more and more. I've got a big thing on it tomorrow, actually. That I'm a big project that I'll be doing with it tomorrow. And this is one that is highly supported by mailed-in props and items and things, where players would get a box. And there'd be different notes like, A or whatever on them, maybe a rune instead of whatever, but, don't open unless instructed to do so, would be on them. And in the game, and go, hey, open up your, water rune, or open up, box C, or whatever you would do when you'd walk into a room. So someone would actually go, I want to make a perception check. Oh, yeah, make a perception check. Sounds good. Well, I got 23. Open up letter, or open up envelope D, or whatever. Or I go to open this. They failed my trap tech. Oh, take out box C or E, maybe Z, or T for trapped. Whatever that is. That type of thing, where the in-game items, things that are there, are contained within, and then you get to interact with them during game, and you get to keep them. Basically, they're yours. So that is a product that I'm working on and getting pricing and all that type of stuff down for as well. But I'm doing some things with it first. But it is in development. So to speak, even to the point, where it could. One thing I'm working on is it could be fun to even have like, hey, here's this like puzzle in actual like life here, and you need to. I've started the hourglass. Solve it. We'll see what happens. Can you solve it in time? Type of deal. And again, these would be things that are agreed upon. Right, so this would be like, in that particular campaign, if something like that is possible, and if we would like something like that or not like something like that, right? So all these things are like, aren't things you're going to be you're going to be surprised when it happens, but you're not going to be surprised that that type of thing exists, necessarily. So that is general idea from like letters and clues. Like, you find these 9 clues, here are all the 9 clues, right there, type of deal. And so I'm testing them out and figuring some of that stuff out. And when I do it, the reason I'm doing a lot of work on it is because when I do it, I want it to be something that makes sense. That makes sense. That I think is enjoyable. I go, cool. Almost everybody can do this. This is enjoyable. So it's a premium experience. Like, hey, it's a test. I guess that's what I say. A tested experience. Is the idea behind that, and that type of stuff, and kind of seeing where they go. And I like to test a lot of stuff. It was like sort of interesting. Like we did some letters for Blue Rose, and it was one of those things. Like, I thought they were so cool, and we got a lot of feedback on it that they weren't that cool, from different players. Some players loved them, some players didn't, and it was like, okay, cool. But it was so valuable to hear that, even like a not impressed type of deal from some, to go, okay, cool, because it helps us design the thing. What are good things? What are bad things? And what do we hear back? When I say like them, it really comes to me kind of the type of feedback. So if I get like, depending on what people might say about them, and I go, oh, okay, that was something that they didn't quite enjoy about it. This was a little more challenging about it, or this is confusing about it, or these types of things, and where they might lead people, or impression or whatever. If it's like, oh yeah, I like it whenever things like this are used and no specific feedback. So that's my thing too. It's like, if I say something what you like, and like someone gives me general feedback on something that could be true of almost anything, I always put that in I don't like category. Like, don't do that again. Like, I do that a lot of times with my games. Like, when we go highlight direction, there are things that like kind of go, like even storylines, they go, oh, no one even named that's a highlight. Out to Tuesday. But there's so much of that I do. Like I'm always writing down things. I'm going, oh, okay, this hit, because what I'm trying to do is give people tens. So I want tens and tens and tens, right? And so people go, that was a 9. Woo, 9. Okay. Maybe we'll put that somewhere else. So that's sort of where I go with a lot of stuff. So and it's just the thing, because I want really good stuff to go out to everybody. Now again, sometimes it's like 9 or 8. I go, oh, let me rework that, see if I can make that a 10. That's how it's not like it vanishes forever just because I get that, but it does kind of go. And as a business, it's also like cost effect, cost, right? There was a time cost, to do that. I think making those letters, I think, was 3 to 4 hours of work. And then of course shipping and some other stuff, the wax, all that type of stuff. And so you look at that and then you go, oh, okay, now what do we get out of it? And so if it's like, so I do this, it's just like when people kind of say the same things they might have said out of like a story element that I came up with that cost me nothing to produce extra, like just cost my time. And I go, oh, they must more appreciated this than they did even this physical thing. Well, okay. And you can only judge those so many ways. And so it's not a perfect judgment either. But those are the types of things, like as a pro GM, you're always like going for how much of a bump, how much of an excitement level or payoff did it seem like you got it. And I'll chart those for a lot of different stuff. And so we go, oh, we got a lot of comments about this element over here, but we hardly got any comments on this. And this one cost X, this one cost Y. The ones that give us the most bang for a buck actually have been costing less. Why? This wasn't really money well spent. What are we going to do in the future? That type of thing. And you want keep doing something that's less effective than something far cheaper, right? Necessarily. And there's nuance to that, but that's business. But yeah, that's what I could mean on that. So it all depends on a lot of stuff there. So yeah. All right. So I don't know, Rainbow Pigeon, if you ever came on, maybe, but I haven't seen your link, so I'm assuming that doesn't go forward. But yeah. In addition, we are there is something people know we are working on a hopefully broadcasted game, an actual play It is the worst kept secret in the Baloverse, but I am admitting to it. I've admitted to it before, but things like that are happening. You can look forward to seeing more on it. Are busy at work, getting stuff together for that, and it's moving very steadily. And it's been a very fun because there's a lot of stuff that we've gotten to learn along the way on it. As far as what works, the amount of work in it, which is a massive amount of work, actually, which we knew. I think we all knew like it was going to be massive, but like experiencing the massive amount of work and getting it all done, and so that's been very fun. But more about that as we get a little closer to stuff. We've been filming and getting good things down for it, and working on things like what an after show is going to look like and all this type of stuff, all the little things you're trying to do for it. And what really excites me about this thing we're doing is that one, it's all players from the community, which I'm super excited about. And of course, on something like this, it's like, I wish I could do it with 30 players. I wish everyone ever play with me could, be on a thing, but you don't only have so many. You gotta figure that out, and we did. It's but that's players from the community. It's community focused because of that, or we're gonna try to be, I should say. And yeah, I think that's kind of my biggest thing. And then because of that, we're all doing it together. No one's necessarily in charge of it as much. Like we definitely have the pieces we were in charge of. Someone's in charge of working on a Patreon. I'm obviously in charge of the GMing and stuff like that. And everyone's sort of working on those pieces there. And so that's a lot of fun. And everyone just kind of takes a piece and does their piece, and we check in and all that type of stuff. So that's very exciting, just as that's moving along. And man, I am hoping people like it and people watch it and are interested in what we have to do and really support us as we're figuring it out, because I have no illusions of grandeur that we're going to come out and be we can't compete with people who've been doing this for 5-10 years on us, right? We're new, we're all figuring this out, but that people would be enough interested to support us, figuring it out, that they'd see enough to go, yeah, I want to support this so that it becomes what it can become, is kind of our hope there. But again, anyone has other questions, otherwise but that's kind of a big thing. We can keep looking for that. That is that Patreon will come for that, and all that stuff too, as well as different support levels and the whole bang. We'll get more into it, and as we hit the ignition button on it. But I do believe that was most of the things I saw here. And I guess I want to say that if people want to grab into that Thursday, that's going to be a blast as we create that thing. It's very fun to do, and it's gonna definitely be cool. So with that, I think that's most everything. I'm trying to think. I don't have much other GM nuggets or wisdom figs, other than I wish there were good GM tools for stuff that wasn't D&D. There's so not. I mean, technically, I guess there's some good stuff for Pathfinder, but I would say things that are outside. Of course, I think it's like TOV, essentially Daggerheart, Steel is the other one that MCDM is making. Those are all essentially like versions of D&D. Like they could all be D&D number point whatever. And so when I talk about other games, I'm always thinking of games that are kind of outside that box of you would never say this is you can never convince anybody that was D&D point number or whatever. Things like Candela Obscura, Girl by Moonlight is a really good one. Brindlewood Bay, one of my favorites to play, and that type of stuff. So, but it's so funny I get back on those campaign management. I still say spreadsheets are great, especially cloud-based spreadsheets. Google Doc is great. It's just so funny. Those are it's tried and true. People making, I think they will. I think people are trying to make stuff. I think the one thing that I think a lot of times when people design these tools is they forget that players and GMs have to love using them for them to work, and they have to be super simple to use. Super, super, super simple. And they can't rely so much on stuff, and then people have schedules and stuff. And I think that's what a lot of these kind of miss. And D&D Beyond really nailed. Again, like everything in one place. So again, there's a lot of reasons why they could. Anyway, I keep going back into this, but that's, I think. Thank you for hanging out with me. Hopefully, you got to talk a little bit and figure out the stuff. See here tomorrow, we've got some Vecna happening. I say Vecna, but it's also the other one, Critical Role. It's really just a campaign now. Like Friday is a full-on, and an interesting fact is in Baloverse 1, it is fully set in Baloverse Exandria. It affects Baloverse Exandria as well. As of note, Sunday Planescape does as well. It is fully integrated. So you will have a lot of things to blame on Sunday. Because, oh my, the things they've already done to you. So crazy. But that type of stuff. But those are fully integrated into and can affect the material plane in Exandria and all that type of stuff. So Friday counts as that as well. And yeah, Fire, message me what you want to do for your bit there on Zip Landscape. Other than that, I'm going to say good night. Everyone, thanks for hanging out. Have a great one. And I'll see you in the games, I hope. And we'll have more and more fun.